Hello everybody and welcome to another amazing video of DIY investing. We are going to be breaking down two of my favorite long-term investments going into this next bull run. When it comes time to talking about what altcoins are going to perform the best, it's important to understand what narratives are most important and what ones are going to end up seeing the most value long-term. These two altcoins are going to serve a significant purpose going into this next bull market, and you want to make sure that you get exposure now because the train is leaving the station very soon. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and with that being said, let's jump right into this amazing video today. Alrighty guys, here we are to start off today's video, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the total market cap. Now the reason I wanted to start out with the total market cap has everything to do with this obeys levels to level a lot better than what Bitcoin USD will do, and even some of the altcoin USD pairs. The US dollar adds a little bit of extra volatility inside of those markets, whereas when we're looking at the total market cap, it's more of just an index based around volume. So it shows a little bit better correlation with support and resistance as well as trend lines, which is my main reason for identifying it sometimes over Bitcoin. Now, what we've been doing for, pretty much since October of last year has been consolidating and building this ascending support. We've had multiple different reactions on this trend line. Over in this period here, we've kind of been at two different points for the most part. We have more of a channel that's developing in here, but we're still holding the main ascending support that we've built since the breakout of the range highs at 1.25 trillion. So when I zoom out and I look at this on a higher time frame, we still have this entire liquidity zone all the way up here that in my opinion will be where we end up seeing Bitcoin topping. For me, I'm not watching so much the Bitcoin price for determining when the top is going to be in the short term. I'm watching the total market cap, and that's once again why I reiterate the point why it's better to look for the total market cap level to level for profit taking than it oftentimes is looking at Bitcoin, because Bitcoin's already tagged the $48,500 level. That was my main area for taking profits. When we were consolidating all the way back down in here, and I told you guys 9 months ago that the target was 48,500, we were expecting that the total market cap would also be around that same level when Bitcoin hit it. However, we can see that that's not the case. And I think that the way that this has built this ascending support and how we really haven't had any sort of parabolic move, I'm kind of expecting we're going to get one more final high right here and hit this top of the range, and then from there we'll see some sort of correction back down. This is what I'm watching for to play out throughout the rest of this year, more or less, is we're going to end up topping relatively soon inside of this move, and then we'll start a longer type of correction. This is the most healthy thing for the market. This is where we'll end up coming back down and retesting some type of support. We might not come all the way back down and retest this main trend line and the prior high. It might hold a little bit higher support, maybe around like 1.46 trillion. But the big picture, I still think we're going to be due for some type of 30 to a 40% correction. And that's where we're going to be wanting to do our part by having extra money on the sidelines to buy the dip. Or, if you're not willing to take profits throughout here, just understanding that a correction is probably due. That allows us to calm our emotions and kind of ease the way through that and continue to focus on the long term. Just be aware that as we're running up to this level, I kind of expect that the total market cap's finally going to top. And then from there, we're going to end up seeing the rest of the markets do the same thing. So with that being said, guys, now let's talk about the two altcoins that I think are going to be providing some of the biggest gains and talk around the narrative that they're built around and why it's going to be such a profitable one to follow over the next 2 years. So the first one we're going to be talking about today is going to be Stargate Finance. Now, what Stargate Finance is it's a bridge, a cross-chain bridge. And one of the issues we have in crypto is we have all of these different chains, right? And the problem with some of these chains is the fact that we can't really bridge too many assets across from each other. It becomes a little bit hard to do that. Now, some bridges take a long time. Some of them are shorter. During the beginning of Arbitrum, it took like a week to be able to use their bridge. So it just depends on which ones are kind of in their development stages as well as which ones have fully went live. I just used the Metis bridge today and it took like 10 minutes. So some of them are pretty quick, but this one is going to be one of the bigger projects that I see playing out in a big way, mainly because of a technicals perspective, looking at the charts. But then when we're talking about how much money is going to be coming into crypto this cycle, there's going to be a lot of money that's going to need to bridge. And when they bridge to different sort of chains, that's where they're going to be looking at which projects to do that on. And I believe that Stargate Finance is positioned to be one of the best projects, considering it's built on layer 0. And a lot of you guys don't know what layer 0 is. It hasn't even launched yet, but it's already raised like $400 million from venture capitalists. They're talking about doing an airdrop, or there's at least speculation around that. And it's probably going to launch Q1 of this year or close around to that point. So when that goes live, this one is built on it. And I think that that one is going to see so much adoption because it's already launching at such a high valuation. And we're going to end up seeing that end up being a chain that a lot of people gravitate towards. So when that happens, I'm betting on this coin to gain a lot of adoption when that chain goes live, because it hasn't yet, and this one is kind of sitting at a major bottoming point. Now, when we're looking at Stargate, I always tell you guys about my favorite Elliott wave sort of cycle, and that's stacking one waves, where you get a one wave impulse here, you get a correction back down, ABC, all the way back down to there, and then we get another impulse here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we once again got another ABC correction back down, nearly a full retrace, corrected almost the entirety of that move, but both of these are just one wave impulses. Now, in the beginning, what you're going to see at the beginning of cycles is as they make their very first impulses, this is the first higher highs of a new trend. And all that we're really doing right here is kind of just building the beginning of some new type of parabolic trend, right? Now, even though it's not going to look super symmetrical at the beginning right here, considering the price action varies, we are going to see this period where this thing starts to bounce up, and I think we're kind of at that point of breaking out, where this breaks out, starts making higher highs, and once we can actually get above the range high at the top of our last move at $1.34, this thing is about to go into a very parabolic type of move. And the reason why it's one of my favorite type of setups is because when we're looking at Elliott wave theory, where we're at big picture is just this very beginning subwave. So we can see this much bigger parabolic impulse that's forming. All we've done is this first wave 1 and wave 2, and then we finished another wave 1 of wave 2, but this is just a subwave of a much bigger move. So when we're looking at Stargate, that's all it's in right now. We finished this wave 1, we finished this wave 1 of 2, and now we're getting ready for a much bigger breakout, which is why I think that this one is about to be doing something very special. With us just at the beginning stages, all we've really done at the bottom here was finish our correction, break all descending resistance, which it's better to analyze that on a log scale. We broke out of descending resistance with this most recent move, and I do believe that this was kind of the last shakeout before we're going to get the next breakout. So when we're looking, I think we're going to be rallying up to the top of this wave B, being just under $1. And then from there, we might see a little bit of a correction back down, do something like this. But I do think big picture, we're going to be running into a new all-time high fairly quickly. It's these type of setups that end up breaking out the hardest and the quickest. And that's why I always tell you guys it's one of my favorite setups. Looking at the stacking one waves, it's what always ends up happening before a much, much bigger parabolic breakout takes place. So watch out for Stargate. Once again, looking at bridges, I've used their bridge multiple times. It works really, really smoothly. And with it only being a little over $100 million in total market cap, I think a 10x is likely, but a 100x is potentially something that could actually happen. If we were to see $10 billion come into this thing, which, isn't that crazy of amount of money when we're talking about an institutional level adoption cycle, I think we'll definitely see this thing at least a 10x long term. But if I had to put an exact number, I would put it in the 50x to the 100x range. I just think that it could actually see that amount of adoption long term. So watch out for Stargate Finance. Now, last up is going to be Synapse Protocol. This one is another bridge that works exceptionally well. I've used it a number of different times. I think I've actually used it more than Stargate, to be honest. But it's actually at a point of breaking out. Now, I really like these bridges because we know that there's going to be a ton of money coming into this cycle. And when there's all this money coming into the cycle, you have to understand that they are going to have to migrate cross-chain. And I've already had this issue where you're pretty much trying to figure out how to bridge different assets cross-chain. It's hard to do and you don't know which one to use. Well, these are the two that I've personally used the most, and they work the smoothest. I've had absolutely no issues with them at this point. And when we're talking about them, both of them have about the same market cap, so it's not much of a difference there. And I think that they're both nearing a point of a major breakout. Now, depending on where you draw this descending resistance, it could have already broken out, but I still think that we're kind of just consolidating like right below that level. But the next higher high should put us outside of that, and then that will set us in for the complete reversal. Because when I'm looking at this, all this looks like is the Wall Street cheat sheet. We have this big correction, you go capitulation, anger, depression. And then this is the depression phase where before you break out, come make your first higher high like this. And then this will be the disbelief phase where nobody really thinks it's going to go anywhere, only for it to bottom, and go into a brand new all-time high. Big picture, we're going to end up doing something along the lines of this. It's not like it's just going to instantly teleport into a new all-time high. We shouldn't expect that. But, running up a couple 100% before a 50% correction or so, before that next leg up going into the all-time highs, that seems a lot more realistic in my opinion, and we got to at least have a little bit of patience with these. I do think that we're nearing the point of significant reversals across the board. Looking at this, it's already made its first higher high of the new trend. We're just about to break out of descending resistance. When we're looking at Stargate, it's already broken out of descending resistance. I mean, I guess you could draw one from all the way over here, but it pretty much just did the exact same thing at the same level. So not only have we broken out of all long-term descending resistance, we've broken out of all short-term descending resistance. This one's about to start that next leg up. And even if we get a little period of consolidation like this, a couple months before we break out, expect that to be, consider that to be a blessing, because when layer 0 goes live, I've got nothing but confidence that this thing's going to absolutely fly. And it's kind of why I'm telling you about it now, because I want you guys to be able to get into it before we ever hear about the launch of layer 0, because it's always when those things launch that all of the tokens in the ecosystem start doing good. So we're better off being early to them, understanding them before they play out. And you guys definitely need to understand the bridge narrative. I think that you guys should definitely go and use some of them. If you're watching this channel, chances are you've already bridged crypto cross-chain. If any of you guys have participated in any of the calls on Metis or Arbitrum, or some of the coins I've talked about in Optimism, there's been a number of chains we've covered, and the only way you can actually trade any of those is to bridge. A lot of those have their own private bridge on their own chain. However, this one is going to be a cross-chain bridge, and well, both of them are going to be a cross-chain bridge, which I think actually gives it a little bit of upside advantage, considering people are going to be chasing narratives. They're going to be looking for things that have a lot of value, and I don't think you can really go wrong placing your money inside of some of these bridges, considering the sheer amount of volume we're going to end up experiencing come a full-blown bull market. So with that being said, guys, if you found value in this, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these updates. If you guys want to end up seeing how I'm investing in my portfolio, every single one of these have been prior signals in my group. We've been accumulating these basically this entire year. Started accumulating both of these at the very end of 2022. So when we're talking about these, if you guys do want to see how I ever position myself long term, you got to join my Discord server. The only way you can get access to the private server is by signing up on my website, linked in the description below. So once again, if you do want to get access, see how I'm positioning myself long term, where I'm going to take profits, when I'm going to take profits, what altcoins I'm going to be investing in long term, as well as where I'm going to be investing outside of crypto. You guys got to get in the Discord server because that's where it's all posted. So once again, website linked below, find it, go on there. That's where you're going to get full access to my Discord. And with that being said, guys, thank you so much for the support. I will catch you in the next video. As always, peace out.